Yeah, hold on. Let me grab one more thing. Don't go anywhere. Hello, hello. Dr. Brett Spradlin here. Divine Design, Natural Health. Does anybody want to learn stuff tonight? All right. A few announcements, a little bit of housekeeping. Spring 2025. We've got the Bitcoin Remnant meetings that are going on Saturdays from 12 to 2. Here you go with the dates. April 5th, May 3rd, June 7th. Remember, that's the first Saturday of each month from 12 to 2. Then wellness workshops for spring, quarter 2 coming up, April, May, and June. April 28th, May 19th, June 9th. Titles to be determined. We love surprising y'all. All right, we ready to get started?
Yes.
Fabulous. Well, let's run through some housekeeping. Ryan, yeah, go ahead and throw the first slide up. We're going to roll through some stuff tonight because, well, you'll see why. Here's some housekeeping. We covered a lot of this stuff in the last class, but we had our 11th Divine Design Natural Health anniversary on February 10th, and that came with a grand majority of our patients that are healthcare professionals receiving care here. So I say that to say this. The last class we did was the MAHA class, the Make America Healthy Again class, which is strange that we have all this healthcare in the United States and we have to make America healthy again. Isn't that strange? So that tells me either one, healthcare isn't really doing its job, or healthcare is doing the opposite of what it should be doing. Amen or amen?
Amen.
So just remember, all the stuff that we're preaching tonight, all the hard stuff that we're talking about here tonight, and for viewers later on, not today, but farther down in the future, remember, a grand majority of the people who come here work in nursing, dentistry, all kinds of therapy of all kinds. So just know that. Know this too, that heroic life-saving emergency surgery is only 1/10, 100,000th, 10,000th of a percentage of all medicine that is out there. So life-saving, people say, oh, I have to have insurance. Oh, it's life-saving surgery. It's often not. It's not a gunshot. It's not a car accident. But the emergency services do play a role, but it is a small percentage of all the healthcare that's out there. Understand that. The chronic disease epidemic started over 100 years ago and hit full swing in the 50s. We covered this in the last class. New diseases appear every single day with specialists multiplying worldwide, every country, specialists. Remember, B.J. Palmer said, a specialist is somebody who knows more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing. Isn't that great? So a little bit more housekeeping, we're almost done. It's nearly irreversible, this whole trend, this whole everybody's sick, nobody knows what's going on thing is almost irreversible. Unless we make a hard and abrupt course correction, you will eventually recall, if you haven't already, how your friends and family members were murdered and sickened for profit. Does anybody know anybody who's been murdered by healthcare? Anybody? That's what I thought. So one day we're going to look back at medicine and say, what were they thinking? One day we're going to look back. U.S. healthcare is so catastrophic that even our politicians are having to take notice. Isn't that crazy? So here's the story on tonight's class. Ready? Let's go. Observing all of the friends and family members of our patients being slowly murdered over the last 11 years, I recently sat down to brainstorm any actual advantages of mainstream chronic healthcare medicine. Despite the trillions of dollars, despite 150 years of monopoly, despite prime real estate in every single U.S. town, and millions of support staff and principal staff with unlimited human capital, I was shocked. Hold on before you go on. Notice I'm saying the friends and family members of our patients. Our patients are great. It's their friends and family members who are being slowly, meticulously murdered for profit because we hear about it. That's where this whole class came from. So I sat down and I wanted to brainstorm advantages of mainstream medicine. What I did was after I did all the math, I was shocked. Next, I was shocked. Why was I shocked? Because I could not think of a single legitimate, useful, regularly beneficial advantage of mainstream medicine. Now remember, I said emergency stuff, you get a gunshot, you get hit by a car, that's emergency, right? But a legitimate, useful, regularly beneficial, is it beneficial for everybody? Not necessarily. Advantage of mainstream medicine, I could not think of one. I'll show you what I mean. Even those single, certain, tiny procedures that are often seen as life-saving are usually warranted by previously performed procedures, okay? So for instance, just off the top of my head, a C-section that leads to later gastrointestinal dysfunction because they did a C-section, they cut her open, they put her guts on her chest, they put her guts back, they pulled the baby out, they put the guts back in her abdomen, and they sewed her back up. Things are out of place, boom. C-section leads to later gastrointestinal dysfunction. Oh no, we don't know how that happened, right? Or cardiac ablation that eventually leads to heart problems. I hear this regularly. Cardiac ablation. You'll learn what that is here in a little while, if you don't already know. But cardiac ablation, we fry a nerve in your heart, or we put a stent into an artery that goes into your heart, and then later on, there's problems. Why are there problems? Without the initial surgery, the patient would likely never have need for the second. Does that make sense? Yes. Next slide, please. So the genius in this is that the effect is often separated from the cause by multiple years. So no one is the wiser, for the connection will often never be made, and most certainly it will never be admitted to by the perpetrators. So consider in light of the recent MAHA movement that we possess in this country every drug, every vaccine, every surgery, and every procedure known to humankind, yet our country has been ravaged by newly invented acute conditions as well as epidemics of chronic disease, right? Textbooks overflow with untraceable symptoms. Support groups pop up daily to welcome new converts to their grand diagnosis for life. That's American healthcare. Next. So here's the skinny. We have incentivized sickness rather than health. We have applauded destruction. We've called good evil and evil good. We've called darkness light and light darkness. Many now worship the American Medical Association rather than the creator who made them. As you think about the following list, because we're going to roll through these pretty quickly, but as you think about the following list, wisely consider the intentions behind those who created them and those who perform them regularly. You'll see what I mean here. Are these items, these things that we're going to go through, the medical gifts that medicine has given us, are these items things that would typically populate the job descriptions of a creator or that of a destroyer? Make your own decisions thereafter. I'm simply the messenger. I don't care what you do with it. Either way, you take it, you leave it. It doesn't affect me. But the only thing worse than learning difficult information is not knowing it at all. I'm delivering the information to you. What you do with it is on your own. It's up to you. You can decide. But I'll tell you this, the people who come here and stay here are healthier than the people who don't come here. I'll just tell you that. Medical gifts. Look at that. What could possibly go wrong, right? Oh, and we're going to do a commercial break? Yes. You ready? Quick commercial break. Give Heidi a round of applause. Rock and roll, Heidi. Yeah.
Right. So this patient, she said, before coming to Divine Design, I was having a huge issue with stuffy ears. My sinuses and ears were so clogged to the point where I was sitting in meetings and couldn't hear a word anyone was saying. Dr. Spradlin adjusted my ears, and that night I went home and realized I was starting to hear again. By the next day, my hearing was fully back. I couldn't believe it. Thank you, Dr. Spradlin, for fixing something I didn't even know could be fixed, and so quickly.
Excellent. I'll take it. Take that, audiologists. Okay, ready for a few laugh tracks? Let's do this. Some of you are sitting at tables you were sent to flip. Wow, tough crowd. Tough crowd. Wow. Figured that would get a laugh or two. Next. After careful consideration, I've decided to become more extreme in my religious beliefs. That was hot when I posed for that picture. It was hot outside that day. Chainmail. Next. Me fighting ancient death cults with memes. You'll see what we mean. You'll see. Next. Trust the government or fight a bear? That's me. Oh, that's one of my favorites. Next. And this is how government works. Notice that the wrong burner is on. Yep. It's burning the handle. So when you go to grab the handle, it's going to be, you're going to have a surprise. The shells are in the Teflon coated skillet, and the egg yolk is on the stove. That is indeed how government works. Yep. Okay. Next. Number 1. We've only got about 80 of these to go through, so I hope you have your big girl britches on and you have a notebook. Abortion. Number 1. Come on in. Have a seat. So abortion. Who performs all of the abortions in the world? We've talked about this in previous classes. Medical doctors, right? Who staffs all of the abortion clinics, nurses? So who's responsible for all of this? Medical doctors, right? You also call this infanticide. If you want to jot down some notes here, remember there's 2 million per year in the U.S. That's about 2,000 a day. Just FYI. 73 million per year worldwide. So that, if you do the math, is about 200,000 per day. We're just talking dead babies. That's it. It's a leading cause of death worldwide. Leading cause of death worldwide. Provided to you by medicine. So medical gifts, what are we talking about? We're talking about all the great things that came from medicine. And these are in no particular order. It just so happens to be that abortion is alphabetical. It's at the top of the list. But it's a leading cause of death. So where do all the dead babies go? That's a good question. If you want to know that, look at Nothing But the Blood, Cult of Modern Death Care, and Eugenics Agendas. We talk about that in those classes. Drum roll, please. Where does this one come from? Nazis, correct. Number 2, like most of our stuff in tonight's list, look up who came up with it, and you will find a Nazi behind it. Number 2, adrenochrome. I won't speak a whole lot on this. It's a new drink for a new generation of elite people. Microsoft is partnering with soft food nanoparticles with Bill Gates and everybody. Just leave it at this. Number 2, adrenochrome. Just know this. Evil people have drunk the blood of humans for thousands of years. Number 3, allergy clinics. Who staffs allergy clinics? Medical doctors, correct. Gordon, you are right. So we talked about this in You Don't Have Allergies. We did a whole hour and a half, 2-hour-long class called You Don't Have Allergies. Just like we've done a class called You Don't Have a Chemical Imbalance, just like we've done a class called You Don't Have Arthritis, You Don't Have Cancer, whatever. Allergy clinics. More needles and inhalers you're going to get. And just think about how long ago, when did allergy clinics become a thing? Were they around a century ago? 80 years ago? Were allergy clinics. Now, if you just Googled allergy clinics, Cleveland or Chattanooga, there'd be dozens. Dozens. So they never existed a year ago, decades ago. So where do you think they all came from? And you go get an allergy test and you find out you're allergic to cats and dogs and air and water and grass and humans. How do you fix it? People are on allergy shots for the rest of their lives. So allergy clinics, another gift. Medicine, what did they give us? Allergy clinics. Number 4, ready? Anabolic steroids. If you think about this, drum roll please, where'd this one come from, Gordon? Correct, Nazis. So anabolic steroids, if you think about the World Wrestling Federation, the World Wrestling, what is it, WWE, WWF, if you think about Olympic athletes, if you think about Lance Armstrong, if you think about baseball in the 90s, football in the 2000s, if you think about any sporting events, basically, they're all on anabolic steroids. Bodybuilding, weightlifting, Olympics. Where did that come from? Medicine. Isn't that great? Lance Armstrong. Thank you, Lance Armstrong. Number 5, moving on. Antibiotics. Now, this is the one on the list where most people would say we've made some progress, right? But is it really the antibiotic that saved your life, or is it the fact that it just bought your immune system a little bit more time? And how do you really know that it was the bacteria that was causing the problem in the first place in order for you to warrant a necessity of antibiotics? Well, that's a good question. We cover that in other classes, but antibiotics were originally discovered as a toxin on mold. That's what penicillin was. So they discovered that the mold created a toxin that killed bacteria. That's where penicillin came from. So you're really ingesting a mold toxin, FYI. And, the medical doctors they'll say the same thing about antivirals as they will about antibiotics. It's like medical doctors will say, well, if you don't take it, you'll get better in 7 days. If you do take it, you'll get better in a week. That's how antibiotics work, right? Number 6, antibiotic. Of course, the next thing coming that medicine has given us is antibiotic-resistant infections. Those are called Clostridium difficile or C. diff. You'll hear people say, oh, I got C. diff. Or you'll hear people say, I've got MRSA, MRSA. It stands for methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It's just MRSA. What is that? That's a flesh-eating bacteria. There's only one place that you can get those. Anybody want to say where that might be? Correct, Gordon. Hospitals. Exactly. So antibiotic-resistant infections, those are termed nosocomial infections, meaning you got that from a hospital. Those are the only places you can get those antibiotic-resistant infections. So once again, medicine. Thank you, medicine. Very good medicine. Medicine, you've been around for 150 years. You've got all the real estate. You've got all the people. You've got all the money. You stand next to the money printer, and people are still dying at the speed of light, dying quicker, living sicker because of medicine. Isn't that great? I love it. Number 7, ready? Artificial intelligence. Where'd that come from? Medical researchers, because they have to be able to figure out a way to parse all this information so that they can replace pharmacists with vending machines, so that they can replace your primary care providers with vending machines, so that they can they're already replacing a lot of surgeons with robots, and they're going to be replacing all of the radiologists with artificial intelligence radiology viewers that can catch mistakes better and faster and cheaper than humans. So it's already happening. And now you have artificial intelligence formulating the mRNA vaccines that the government wants you to take, that's custom made for your cancers. The AI is also formulating drugs. The AI is also formulating even supplements. So FYI, just keep that in mind. Oh, and peptide injections. Artificial intelligence is also designing your Botox and your peptide injections for your Ozempic and all of your other BPC 157. We did whole classes on this. So artificial intelligence, you might want to check out artificial versus natural, number 1, and artificial versus natural, number 2, a couple of WellWorks we did a while back. And we did the Nothing But the Blood, A Snake in the Vein classes that you guys might want to check out, talking extensively about artificial intelligence. What are they doing? Another thing they're doing is here pretty soon, I'll just say it like this. Here pretty soon, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, you'll get a little card in the mail and it will have something for you to spit in or for you to prick a finger, or they'll just take a cheek swab, a little Q-tip in there, and you will plop it in the little envelope and you'll send it back to 23andMe or BlackRock or whoever. and they will design your cancer vaccine in real time based on your genetics, and they will send you your supplements, they will send you your drugs, they will send you your cancer medications based on your genetics, and they will send you, here's what you eat for breakfast and lunch and dinner, all designed by AI. What could possibly go wrong? Let me think. A demon in a computer programmed by a demon in a man. That's what that is. So just FYI. Just FYI. Number 8, are you guys having fun yet?
Oh, yes.
Artificial sweeteners. So basically, food scientists marketed a neurotoxin and distributed it as a sugar substitute under a lot of different names that people don't even know how to recognize anymore. But it's in gums, powdered drinks, soft drinks, foods, things like that. Number 9, autistic schools. Where'd these come from? They never existed until just recently. But if you look up the magazine, I noticed Autism Parenting. There's a magazine called Autism Parenting Magazine. It almost looks like a developmental version of Better Homes and Gardens. You're just flipping through and wow, this is pretty. Yep, that's what it is. And of course, I've got a little thing to show you, a little trinket to show you later at the very end. It's genetic. I want you to know this. Autism, it's genetic, of course. But I have something I want to show you at the very end. But just remember, we never had it before. 50 years ago, it was never heard of. And now we're building schools right there. Who do we thank for that? Medicine. Number 10, bioweapons. Number 10, if you hear the terms gain of function, medical research, biological warfare, military research, if you hear biolabs, if you hear any of that, that is just insert the words, to kill a human. That's what that is. Just remember, that's how you read that word. So, and watch back in the throes of the 2020 COVID's hoax, 2020, the rollout of the warp speed nonsense, go back and check out the Darkness to Light parts 1 through 10, because we steered a lot of people away from getting the COVID's hoax. Number 11, you ready for number 11? Birth control. Yeah, I feel like I'm on a game show, right? Birth control. Other names that goes by: depopulation, infertility, intrauterine devices, drug-induced menopause. Check out the HRT. Check out the class, the Wellness Workshop class, the women's class. Oh, and know this too, that back in the day, they didn't have chronic disease medications. The birth control pill was the first pill where you took it and it didn't fix a problem. This was the progenitor. This was the beginning of getting people on long-term medications. That's where it started. And that was the first pill you took it for a couple of weeks, didn't fix anything. And then in the 60s, there were like 0% of money was being spent on chronic conditions. And then today, about 95% is spent on chronic conditions. So they took all that trust that like World War II gave people in antibiotics and surgery. They took all that trust and and medical innovations and all that stuff, and they steered all of that trust toward chronic conditions. And by the 70s, you went from, in the 60s when birth control came on the scene, there was nobody on medications. And in the 70s, by the 70s, 10 years later, 1 decade later, 30% of all US women were on Valium. This was the beginning of chronic, long-term, day in, day out, never come off of it medication. Drum roll, please. Who'd this come from? Came from the Nazis. Are you seeing a pattern? Number 12, blood chemistry panels. People ask me, heard it today a couple times, why don't you do blood chemistry panels? Here's why. Because when you look at blood chemistry, you're not looking at a human's blood. You're looking at their drugs. You're looking at their shampoo. You're looking at their food. You're looking at their medications. You're not looking at their blood. So all your functional medicine guys, you can keep pulling blood, but where's it all go? You're creating a problem, because where's all this blood go, right? Nothing natural comes through a needle. Number 13, blood donation. That's great. We did a whole class on it. See, New Age for old devils, nothing but the blood. When you see blood mobiles and blood drives, just ask yourself, why are we taking up blood? We're not in a war. Where's it go? Number 14, ready? Blood transfusions. Yay, look at all the stuff that has to do with blood. That's why you ought to check out Nothing But the Blood, the class we did about a year ago. Blood transfusions. If you see somebody with hepatitis, cirrhosis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, liver failure, you should ask them how many blood transfusions they've had. Just FYI, AIDS, HIV, all that, all the fake stuff. And you ought to watch Nothing But the Blood and New Age for Old Devils. Number 15, Bluetooth medical devices. Why is this a problem? Thank you, medicine, by the way. Why is this a problem? Well, you've got your Bluetooth hearing aids, you've got your Bluetooth pacemakers, you've got your glucose monitors that stick on your arm that talk to your phone and tell your phone what your blood sugar is. Then you've got your Oura rings, you've got your sleep monitors, you've got even drug bottles that if they aren't disturbed within a certain number of hours, the Bluetooth that isn't shaken, the cap isn't taken off, you'll get a call from your doctor's office saying, why haven't you taken your meds? And I even heard of some knee implants, knee replacements that have AI and Bluetooth chips in the, I don't know if it's true or not, I need to look that up. But it's Bluetooth, it's in everything. It's gonna be in everything, and it's gonna be in you. So unless you know how to avoid this stuff. Number 16, ready? Another thing we haven't ever seen before, cancer treatment centers. Are you seeing a pattern? Man, we've had a monopoly on healthcare and medicine and drugs and vaccines and surgeries. Is everybody healthier? No. So the COVID's hoax started the whole term turbo cancer. And now here you've got 6 and 8 and 10 and 12-year-olds with aggressive cancers that oncologists have never seen before. It's crazy. And then you, of course, go and you see your advertisements on TV about the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and you go, oh, it's revolutionary treatments. It's different. It's not just chemo and radiation. You're right. It's not just chemo and radiation. It's genetic testing, chemotherapy, and radiation all at once. Isn't that great? That's how we do that. That's great. Number 16, Cancer Treatment Centers. All customized to your genetics. Isn't that great? Number 17, censorship. We have medicine to thank for this. What do I mean? Well, during the COVID's hoax, a lot of people were getting censored. We got permanently banned for life off of YouTube. We got permanently banned for life off Vimeo because we were just telling people the truth, right? It's crazy. COVID's caused, but the thing about the censorship during the COVID's hoax was COVID's caused two drugs for the first time ever were completely censored, completely banned, completely illegalized. Mm-hmm. 2 drugs. And I'm not a big fan of the drugs, but it was interesting to watch the pharmacists cannibalize themselves. It was funny because, and then from that point on, we got shadow banned. Everybody got shadow banned. Freedom of speech went to the wind. Nobody cares because, man, everybody got their shots. And thank God we only had one person that fell for the COVID's hoax. Thank God, out of hundreds of patients. Ready? Number 18, chemotherapy. See our class, The Cure for Cancer. We've got a class called The Cure for Cancer. Check that out. And chemotherapy, just FYI, I learned about the Red Devil chemotherapy probably about 6 or 8 months ago. I'd never heard of it. But it's called doxorubicin. Red Devil chemotherapy. Look it up. It'll blow your mind. It's so evil. It's so evil. But it's like breast cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, solid tumors. It's garbage. The type of stuff where when you take it, don't touch your kids for a few weeks. It's nuts. It's absolutely out of control. Number 19, children's hospitals. Where'd these come from? Never saw them before, about 50 years ago. Check out the class, Why Your Kids Are Sicker Than You. That would explain it to you. And that, I think, was the class where we talked about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So St. Jude's, Danny Thomas prayed to a saint and said, if you make me prosperous, I will build a shrine to you. That's where St. Jude's came from. And all of you Christians in Cleveland, when you pray to a saint, who are you praying to? Correct. So he prayed for intercession to St. Jude Thaddeus as a means of providing for his family. The demon answered his prayers, and he built a shrine called St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital in honor of the demon. Number, what are we on? 20. Climate change. How is this related to medicine? Well, you can't have a climate change vaccine without medicine. So this is the next big thing. So number 20, climate change. Number 21, commercialized cannibalism. What do I mean by this? Watch the Nothing But the Blood class and understand that there are certain proteins in the drugs that we can't build them in a laboratory. The only thing that can build them is the human body. So you go, give your blood, give your plasma. The plasma centers and the blood donation centers sell it to the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies chop up those proteins out of your blood, put it in the drugs, and then they sell the drugs to other people. So commercialized cannibalism is cannibalizing the commercialized sale of human blood that's now in your drugs. You know how I told you we were going to have a great time tonight and everybody was going to be laughing? Everybody's laughing. You hear that? Because that's what's in your drugs, because no machine in the world can build these proteins. So where does it come from? It comes from all that free blood they got from you when you donated it. So human blood products are used for pharmaceuticals. Go check that out. The new age for old devils, nothing but the blood, the classes we did about a year ago. So when you go to the hospital and you get your drugs, I hope you like eating the blood of other humans. Number 22, depopulation. How could you possibly have depopulation without medicine? Thank you, medicine. Medicine, you're saving everyone's lives. You're making everything better. You're making our lives longer. Thank you, medicine. During a 2010 TED Talk, I've played this video before, Bill Gates says, and I quote, if we do a really good job of new vaccines and healthcare and reproductive health services, we could lower the population by perhaps 10 or 15%. That's what he said. That's Bill Gates. That's the dude who's not any type of health person who somehow got put in charge of the vaccines for the entire world. Somehow. So depopulation, we've done whole classes on it. Go check out Eugenics Agendas. That was done about 5 years ago. Number 23, ready? I love these guys. Dermatology clinics, where'd those come from? Brand new. Who do we have to thank for those? Nazis. It's an elderly cash cow. They're going to freeze, they're going to burn, they're going to cut, they're going to scrape. And what do they find when they freeze and cut and burn and scrape stuff off your skin? What do they find? Always. Say that louder, Mom. Precancerous. Yay! Everything's precancerous. The sun is your enemy. Use sunscreen, which causes cancer. And if you see something that says dermatologist approved, just know that that's code speak for it causes cancer. Number 24. Wait a minute. I'm noticing a pattern. Dialysis centers. Dialysis centers. Yeah, we didn't have those until everybody shot their kidneys with a bunch of drugs. We didn't have dialysis centers until we killed people's kidneys. That's funny. So the dialysis centers, those are brand new, never existed until recently. Thank you, medicine. There's 3 or 4 dialysis centers in this town. This is a small town. So kidneys, how'd your kidneys get destroyed? Drugs. Who gave you the drugs? Medicine. Thank you, medicine. Isn't that great? Love it. So see, when I said, you sit down and you try to think of a few advantageous things that medicine has brought into our lives. And the only thing you can think, the only thing out of this whole list, stitches? Sew up my guts so they don't fall out? That's about it. And that's less than 0.0001% of everything that's out there. See, it's crazy. But when you sit down and you think of what a stranglehold medicine has on our society, and then you sit down and you think about all the stuff that I'm talking about, how many people are affected by this, all of a sudden God just blows your mind right out of your head and you just go, this is so bad. This is bad. So no wonder we have a Maha movement, because everybody's fallen for this nonsense. Right? Okay. Everything's pre-diabetic. Yep. Number 25. Ready? This one fell out of favor, but ECT or electroconvulsive therapy or electroshock. They used to do that to everybody. Now, yeah, that's a big. That's coming from psychiatry, and that's really all I'll say about psychiatry. I just wanted to put one thing in this list because of psychiatry, but psychiatrists are the worst people possible. There's more ethical violations in psychiatry than any other healthcare field. So just FYI. When you go in some dude's office and the door is shut and you lay down on a couch in the dark and you tell him your secrets and then he puts you on psychiatric medications, nothing good's going to come out of that. Just FYI. So if your daughter has a psychiatrist, might be a bad idea. Electroshock therapy, number 25. Ready? Number 26. Emergency C-sections. Let's see, let's give you Pitocin to, speed things up, and let's give you epidurals to slow things down, and then they're going to work together wonderfully to to require an emergency procedure. And then you fast forward from way before. They couldn't have done the emergency C-sections until a few decades ago. Fast forward a few decades, and now in 2023, 32% of all births are C-sections. Now, that's just emergency C-sections. That's just the procedure. We'll talk about ultrasounds and all the other malarkey in pregnancy later on. But the emergency C-sections are tearing people up. And are they necessary? Only to the doctor that has a tea time. That's really the only thing. Number 20, and tea time, I mean golf. Number 27, epidemics. These go in order. I'll give you 3 different categories. There's the young folk, there's the middle-aged folk, and there's the old folk. The young folk are all allergies, asthma, diabetes, learning disorders, epidemic learning disorders. Epidemic. We already talked about the autism schools, right? The autistic schools. The people in the middle, well, let's talk about the people at the top. People at the top, epidemic of neurodegenerative problems, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, MS, you name it, right? Dementia, all that stuff. All the people in the middle, what's wrong with them? They're hooked on opiates, they're hooked on Xanax, and they're hooked on antidepressants. So, the young people epidemic, old people epidemic, young people epidemic, autism, neurodegenerative problems, right? Or neurodevelopmental problems. The old people, all the Alzheimer's and the neurodegenerative problems. Everybody in between, they're hooked on opiates, they're hooked on antidepressants. Opiate problem, right? We've got epidemics in every major group. And who do we have to blame for these epidemics? Medicine. Correct. Most of them being Nazis. Correct. OxyContin, fentanyl, that's the one you hear a lot about. It's just nuts. Number 28, eugenics. What is eugenics? That just means racism. That just means medically induced racism. That's what that is. Think Nazis, and the Nazis got the eugenics ideas from America. So they're like, let's get rid of the crippled people, let's get rid of the old people, let's just build a master race because, evolution and billions of years and master this and master that, and we're worshiping demons, and that's what the eugenicists were. Bill Gates' father was a eugenicist, by the way, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But see, that's also depopulation, see the eugenics agendas. Drum roll, please. Who do we have to blame for this one? Drum roll, please. Nazis, yay, yay, exactly. Now, number 29. When I first came across this one years ago, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. But that is exactly what it says it is. What does this mean? Fecal transplants. Want me to translate it for you? Here goes. Your guts have a problem, so we're going to take somebody else's poop, put it in a blender with a little bit of water, stuff it into your rectum, and it's going to fix your problems. That's what a fecal transplant is. That's exactly what it is. I can't even believe I have to read this to you. This is nuts. It's also known as a stool transplant. It's the process of transferring fecal bacteria and other microbes from a healthy individual into another, and this procedure is usually performed because of Clostridium difficile infections. Where did you hear that word before 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago? Clostridium difficile, C. diff. Where do you get those? Hospitals. So if you're in the hospital and you get a C. diff infection, what they're going to do is put a stranger's poop in your butt. I mean, it sounds like a good time, but it might get messy. Unbelievable. But remember, the nosocomial infections thing we talked about before, remember what those are. So the donor's stool is mixed with saline water and filtered before transferred into the recipient's digestive tract through a tube that goes through a colonoscope or by other methods, such as swallowing a capsule. So you can get it up your butt or you can eat the capsule. So these people are laughing at you. They're laughing because you can swallow a capsule. So you can eat someone else's. Who comes up with this? Remember what we said at the beginning. These things are either the job description of a creator or of a destroyer.
Yes.
They are laughing. They're writing research papers telling people how great fecal transplants are so that you will fall for it. And you'll go, my guts are killing me. I don't know what else to do. Do whatever you got to do. And then they go, we have an idea. Instead of, I wonder if all of your gut pain, your irritable bowel, your constipation, your diarrhea could be caused by the drugs, the vaccines, or the food. Now, I got an idea. We'll put somebody else's poop in your butt. Who thinks of this? It ain't God. Number 30, fertility treatment centers. Another thing that never existed until just decades ago. Whatever happened with that? Well, we got a bunch of brand new facilities. Why? I don't know. The birth rate's dropping. We got to pop out babies. People pay a lot of money to have a baby, right? So they take advantage of that. Now they have IVF procedures, in vitro fertilization. The woman comes in, poops out an egg. The guy comes in, poops out some sperm. They put them together. They grow a bunch of embryos. And then you're at the point where you're like, well, what do we do with all the embryos? We just want one. So what do they do with the rest of the embryos? Good question. Take that one step further, and now they're not just doing IVF fertilization or procedures. Now they're doing IVG. I know you're wondering what IVG is, Heidi, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Say you have a gay couple, and they want their baby to have their genetics. Well, you get the genetic material together, you cook up a zygote, you cook up an embryo, and then you let it reproduce, and then you let that one reproduce. So now you have your stuff, and you've got your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your great-great-grandkids, and then you just wipe out all of these generations, and you take this one, and you implant it, and now you've got your great-great-great-great-grandkid growing inside you, or inside an incubator, so now you can have your genetic material. That's called in vitro human-derived gametes. So they'll take the gay couple and make a baby out of it. You're welcome. Who do we have to thank for multiplex families? That's what they're called, by the way, multiplex families. So they just kill all those generations between the one that they take. There goes grandma, great-grandma, great-great-grandma. Kill those generations, and we just take the one we want right here. Boom. That's called IVG, in vitro human-derived gametes, and that's a multiplex family. That's for in vitro gay couples that want to have kids with their genetics. So who do we have to thank for that one? Medicine. Medicine, you are truly taking the cake. Taking the cake. You're providing so much value and improvement in all of our lives. I just want to say thank you so much. Number 31, fluoridated water. Who do we have to thank for that? Well, medicine, but really the dentists, because the dentists were in on that scam. So check out the WellWorks. You're full of it. If it's for cavities, why are you swallowing it? Good question. And in the water class, we went through the Cleveland Utilities mailer, where it shows, in the Cleveland Utilities mailer for the city of Cleveland, where it shows that fluoride is great for strong teeth and bones, and then if you read the little footnote, it says, but it's a toxic runoff, toxic contaminant from aluminum runoff factories. Which one is it, fellas? You can't have both. Number 32, gene editing. Very different than what we just talked about with the IVG, but they've been doing plants for decades, so rest assured, if they're already doing plants, do you think they're doing humans? I think they're doing humans. Okay. They did a sheep like 35 years ago. So really, I mean, if you think that they're not doing humans, you might be way behind the curve. Number 33, genetic testing. So if you send your blood or your DNA to 23andMe, or you send it to Ancestry.com, or if you got a nasal swab, you can rest assured during the COVID hoax, then you can rest assured that BlackRock has all of your DNA, and it will be utilized for future gene therapy later on, farther down the road. And I like some of these people that send in, like, dirt from the bottom of their shoe, and it was tested with 23andMe, and it showed that it was like 10% Indian, 40% Chinese. It was hilarious. Number 34, genital mutilation. I think we've all heard enough about this one. I don't want to spend a lot of time on here, but all the gender-affirming care. We talked about this in the MAHA thing. The gender-affirming care. There are a couple of groups of doctors out there who are really, really in favor of genital mutilation and gender-affirming care. And the biggest one that I'll just mention is the American Academy of Pediatrics, and also the American Medical Association. They really love the idea of this. So just FYI, check out the Make America Healthy Again class from about a month ago. We go into detail about that. Heidi, you ready? Commercial break. Everybody give Heidi a round of applause. We're about halfway through. Look at that.
Okay, so this patient, he said, I have been struggling with right shoulder pain for as long as I can remember. After just one adjustment from Dr. Spradlin, my shoulder pain disappeared completely. I will always come back to divine design.
That makes two of us. I will always come back. Okay, number 35, but we got a few memes before we kick into 35. Yay, memes. When your tinfoil hat turns into a crown of knowledge. That's a picture of me in high school, right there. That was a good time. Next. They poison the world, and then when people become ill, they blame viruses and germs. When will the people wake up, right? Next. Scientists agree if you stop killing chickens, they lay more eggs. No? Was that bad? That was good. That was a good one. That was a good one. Next. I thought it was great. The deep state is big pharma. You are dealing with a racketeering enterprise that is criminal, psychopathic, soulless, and demonic that commercializes and normalizes chaos and disease. I couldn't say it any better. Leonard Horowitz, he's a dentist, by the way, who woke up and showed the world back in like the 80s and 90s that HIV didn't exist and that AIDS was fake. Might want to look into that. And he was the mentor of my mentor, by the way. Yeah, AIDS is not what you think it is. Next. That was made up. That was like the COVID's hoax. That's why we call it COVID's, because it's AIDS. It's AIDS. I want peer-reviewed articles in at least 10 sources. Why? You got jabbed in a parking lot by a stranger with a drug you knew nothing about just to get a free donut. Crazy, isn't it? Yep. And you want to know why you can't communicate with some people? You can't. I mean, it's over. You can't. It's done. It's a statistic at that point. Next. This is so fitting for this class. Who could have guessed that when you mix heavy metals, microplastics, pesticides, antibiotic-laced meats, synthetic fertilizers, forever chemicals, BPA, glyphosate, fluoride, industrial seed oils, genetically modified organisms, artificial sweeteners, processed foods, synthetic fragrances, and Teflon, what do you know? People get sick. Who could have guessed it? But there's always a drug, right? Always more chemicals. Always more chemicals. Next. Here it is, number 35. Ready? Heart centers. These never existed 50 years ago. That's the #1 preventable disease in the world. We talked about this in We Heart You More, We Heart You Too. We've got a bunch of heart classes every February. Scroll back through our videos and you'll see them. And the American Heart Association started in 1924. So basically, they've been around 100 years. Anybody want to take a guess what the major killer, what the #1 disease was in 1924? Yes, heart disease. 2024, 100 years later, what's the #1 disease? Heart disease. Isn't that crazy? They've been doing their job, man. They've been keeping their disease #1, first place. Can't beat them. Number 36. So if that tells you anything, has medicine been doing its job? Killing people? Yes. Of course. Yes. And I will go on record saying it. I'll go against anybody, anytime, anywhere. Bring the statistics. Show me something that eliminates the need for people standing up and going and go for people to say, "Make America healthy again," right? We've got all the drugs. We've got all the vaccines. Why are people falling over dead, right? Why are people living sicker, dying quicker? Why are the nursing homes packed? The funeral homes are packed. The cemeteries are packed. The hospitals are growing. The children's hospitals are growing. But we've got all the drugs. Number 36, heroic life-saving surgery. Well, it's not so heroic and it's not so life-saving. But that's what you've been told, and I get that. But it's less than 0.0001 of all medical procedures. And I want you to know, when people say heroic life-saving surgery, think about the last time that you saw a human being wearing a cast on a broken arm or a broken leg. Years. Why? Did people stop falling? Did people stop breaking bones? Any idea? Where'd the casts go? So medicine says, well, you don't need casts anymore because casts are $8, $10, $12. It takes 6 or 8 weeks. You heal. Or we can do a $45,000 surgery to fix your wrist with plates and pins and screws. So you don't see kids with casts anymore. The parents are just told, yeah, he needs surgery. Like, we can't fix this without surgery. So if it's heroic and life-saving, show me. Show me one. Show me one. Show me one that wasn't caused by the doctors who cut the guy in the first place 5 or 10 years ago, who would never admit that we just fried a nerve in his heart and, oh, that led to congestive heart failure. They'll never admit it. It's not heroic and it's not life-saving, but it is surgery. Number 37, hospice care. Where were these 50, 60, 70 years ago? Did they exist? Never heard of them. Why are they everywhere now? Because it's government-sponsored human euthanasia. Number 38, imaging centers. Where'd these come from? These are brand new. What is an imaging center? Well, we've got 7 of them in this town. Well, we've got one company that has Cleveland, Chattanooga. There's 7 locations, just this one company, 7 locations, and you can do 25 to 35 different procedures at each location. So if that gives you any idea as to how big imaging stuff is, you can do, DEXA scans, you can do x-rays, CAT scans, MRIs, PET scans, all of it. And that does not include, see, that's just one company. That doesn't include the x-rays and the MRIs and the CAT scans and all the other imaging ultrasounds and procedures and things like that at all of the hospitals, the urgent care centers, the walk-in clinics, the oncology centers. You're just talking about one company that has 7 locations where they do 40 different procedures. It's nuts. All that radiation, what does radiation lead to? Unbelievable. Number 39, implantable medical records. I'm not even going to get into this. Just go read Revelation chapter 13 if you haven't read the book of Revelation yet. And I found out a while back, if you have friends who are Lutherans don't read, shut that off, or I'm going to answer it next time. Lutherans do not read the book of Revelation. So if you have friends who are Lutherans, you might want to give them a book of Revelation. It's very interesting. Number 40, injectable peptides. There's a big story behind why Lutherans don't read the book of Revelation. We can talk about that when the camera's shut down. Injectable peptides. I did a whole class on it. I'm not going to talk about it. But you got venomous reptiles. You got the Gila monster venom. You got the big injectable peptide right now. It's called Ozempic. That they want 50% of kids under 12 years old. They want 50% of them on Ozempic within the next 5 years. So when you're putting venomous reptile injectable peptides, venomous reptile venom, poison, into humans, what's going to happen? Well, you're watching it. Nothing natural comes from a needle. All of your social media influencers, all of your natural health people, all of your just absolutely sidetracked natural health people, all of your functional medicine people are going to be pushing injectable peptides. They already are. Number 41, insurance premiums. Thank you, medicine, for getting everybody in the world to think that they get health care for free, even though it gets stolen out of their paycheck once every 2 weeks. And thank you, medicine, for helping people to understand that when they become 65 and they finally have access to Medicare, when they finally become eligible to get the murder care, the drugs and the surgery that they've paid into their whole lives, they don't even think about saying no. They just get meticulously euthanized by their government with money that was stolen out of their own paychecks. So thank you, medicine, for spelling it out with insurance premiums. I don't know how else you could have tricked people for this many years, for this long, into killing themselves with their own money. And know this, that when you hear somebody say, evidence-based, we want evidence-based medicine, we want evidence-based care, that's a trick word for, will insurance pay for it? Can we get the insurance companies to reimburse it? Evidence-based care is not what it sounds like. It's not science-based. There's science-based and then there's evidence-based. Evidence-based means, can we get somebody to write a paper on it so that we can quote it in medical journals and get the insurance companies to pay for it? That's what evidence-based means. Number 42, integrative health clinics. Never heard of them. Where'd these come from? Well, these are all of the DCs and NDs and all the naturo hippie paths that want to do integrative health clinics. So they want to hire a medical doctor, or they want to hire a DO or a nurse practitioner to come in with a fancy set of hypodermic needles so that they can pay the nurse practitioner or the PA or the medical doctor to inject everybody with steroids. That's an integrative health clinic. That's what that is. How you administer more injections B12 shots, steroids, all that. They're everywhere. Look them up. They're great. Number 43, intravenous hydrotherapy. There's one right down the street here. Intravenous, once again, IV, more needles, right? Thank you, medicine. Needles are patterned from snake fangs. That's where we got the idea for hypodermic needles. So if anybody comes at you saying, oh, you got to get this injection, you got to get this injectable peptide, you need this hormone replacement therapy, it's a needle. Just remember that. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't affect me a bit, but I'm going to stay away from the snake fangs. But look up the nothing but the blood class, the snake in the vein class. Snake bites delivered to your office or your home for hangovers, for stress, for pain. They'll come to your office. They'll come to your home. There are websites out there where you can just click, order up. It'll be there in 30 minutes. And they'll set up an IV and stick it right in your blood. It's wonderful. Number 44, joint replacements. Where'd these come from? Everybody's getting them. It's a new thing, right? Shoot, they're doing shoulder and ankle replacements now. I have new stuff to learn about. They're going so fast, I can't keep up with the fakery. I have to continue the pace. I can't stop. Number 44, primarily hips and knees. Why so many? Well, I'll tell you, I know exactly why. It's because of this thing called marathons and this other thing called treadmills. It's wonderful. They tricked everybody into running their faces off by getting them to think that they had to go to a gym and work their calories off. It's because they ate a bunch of crap food, and then they had to go spend 4 minutes running on a treadmill to try to work off. That's not the way it works. And in the process, it kills your joints, and then they're coming for your knees. Check out the BBC, the placebo documentary that we featured in Artificial versus Natural, Part 1, Part 2. There's a 5-minute little clip in there. It's a documentary called Placebo, where they cut people. They had 500 people or whatever. 250 of them they cut, told them you had knee surgery. These 250 over here, they didn't, well, wait a minute. Yeah. They cut these people and told them that they had knee surgery, and they actually did the knee surgery on these people. Which group got better? These people. They just had a little arthroscopic, a little hole right here. Made it look like they had knee surgery, but they didn't. And the people that didn't have the knee surgery got better. Fascinating. Number 45. These are great. You're going to see these all over the place. Ketamine clinics. What's that? That is a new thing for depression and anxiety. It's usually injected. Surprise, surprise. Thank you, medicine. Thank you, Nazis. It's usually injected. It's a dissociative tranquilizer that they use for depression. But really, the fact of the matter is what causes the depression. We've done whole classes on this. Number 46, life insurance actuarial tables. What do I mean by this? If you're a high net worth individual and you're insuring yourself for multiple millions of dollars, they're going to run your blood. They're going to run your genetics. They're going to look at your grocery bill. They're going to look at what doctors you go to. They're going to check out how many times you've had surgery. What are they going to do from all that? They're going to calculate down to the week and or month that you will die so that they know that they are not losing money. This is a whole thing in the insurance industry. It's not really the pharmaceutical companies that run the world. It's the insurance companies that run the world. So they are going to calculate right down to the month. They can get it down to within weeks of your death based on a few things. Based on, you want to know the secret? Here it is. Based on how many drugs you're on, how many surgeries you've had, and what you eat. That's how they do it. So there's people out there, that's like Gary Brecka's whole thing. It's this biohacking dude that worked for the insurance companies for decades. And then he finally had a come to Jesus moment and went, well, shoot, we're giving people all of these fake pharmaceuticals. I wonder if we could just give them some fake nutraceuticals and they'd get better. And so he built a whole platform off of it. Drugs, surgeries, transplants. How many drugs, how many surgeries, how many transplants you've had, and the food you eat. That's basically it. Number 47. People don't even believe this when you tell them. Lobotomobiles. They don't even believe this when you tell them. And everybody says, oh, well, he didn't call them lobotomobiles. You're right. He didn't call them lobotomobiles. That's what normal people called them. Because if he called it a lobotomobile, he would have been put in prison. But Walter Jackson Freeman was a big psychiatrist back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. He traveled across the country, visited a bunch of mental institutions, performed lobotomies on randoms, and everybody called the van that he traveled around in a lobotomobile. Another little side note of psychiatry's history, lobotomobiles. If you look up that word, you'll find them. But Walter Jackson Freeman was his name. He was a psychiatrist that just random lobotomies. Yep. Thanks, medicine. Number 48. We're almost done. Oh my goodness. Who pays for malpractice insurance? Patients, not doctors. Patients pay for malpractice insurance. With a medical doctor, you're going to have tens of thousands of dollars of coverage, if not millions, because you're giving out toxic, poisonous pharmaceuticals. The insurance companies know this, by the way. And if you're cutting people with a scalpel, there's a possibility that you could cut the wrong thing. So medical doctors' stuff is going to be way up there. And of course, that gets passed down to the patient. And then the patient says, why is my medical care so expensive? Oh my gosh, I got to go to Mexico to get my cancer treatment. And then you have medical tourism. Malpractice insurance for chiropractors, that's what it's called, medical tourism. There's whole lists of things people go to other countries to get because medical, the healthcare in the United States is too expensive. So it's called medical tourism. You go on vacation, you get your breast implants, you come back, you save $150,000. It's crazy. But like my healthcare, my malpractice insurance for a year is somewhere between, when I first got in practice, it was $170 a year. Now it's about $1,800 a year. So that's how safe chiropractic is. And the insurance companies do a lot of math to figure that out. So just FYI. Leading cause of death, by the way, since the last class that we did, number 3 leading cause of death in the world is what? Doctors.
Oh, yes.
Remember? So once again, medicine. Thank you, medicine. You're doing a bang-up job, literally bang-up job. Number 49, these never existed. Maternity wards. And they're doing a bang-up job too. What are they doing? They're doing neonatal intensive care units. They're doing probably DNCs. I don't know if they do dilations and curatages in the maternity wards, but that's your OBGYN. It's an obstetrics. It's where they do obstetrics. C-sections, you can't do a VBAC after you have a C-section, and that's a medical thing. Miscarriages are now everywhere. And what country leads the world in infant mortality again? Good job, medicine. Everybody give medicine a round of applause. It's wonderful. Doing a great job. Number 50, medical aesthetics. These are all of your injectors all your nurse practitioners and everybody who loves to do med spas, Botox, vampire facelifts, cosmetic procedures. Yes, that's what they're called, vampire facelifts. It's crazy. Number 51, medical experiments. When you see that or hear that, just think that will also be subbed out with the word research. So medical experiments, whether it's Fauci with beagles or whether it's, spraying a whole town with LSD like the CIA did back in the 70s. Number 52, these exist because medical power of attorney. Because why? Because people know that if you go to a hospital, you are not dictating your care unless you have something like this. That's how tyrannical. It's nuts. I'm just like, think of all the things that we've had to invent just to deal with medicine. Malpractice insurance, medical power of attorney. It's nuts. It's so evil. But your pastor can't say that because half the church is nurses. Oh, this is going to be popular. I think this is going to be our most popular class of all time. I think everybody's going to love. They're going to share this with all of their uncles and aunts. I don't care. Number 53. Where did these go? Mental hospitals. I don't know what happened to them. I know where one is in the headquarters of Kellogg's in Battle Creek, Michigan. I've been inside that one a few times. But whatever happened to them? Not to be confused with the next one, number 54, methadone clinics. But we don't call them methadone clinics. You don't say, like, hey, Jane, did you go to the methadone clinic last week? How was it? You don't say that. You say, oh, how was your time at the treatment center? Right? It's called a treatment center. That's the way we approach that, right? So we're not calling them treatments, methadone clinics. But you use a drug to get people off of a drug. It makes total sense. It only makes sense if you don't think about it. Number 55, nanotechnology. I won't talk about this one. Go see Nothing But the Blood, the class. Number 56, we talked about this one a little bit. I wanted to say cardiac ablation because that's the most common. You got a flutter, you got a palpitation or arrhythmia. They stick an electrode into your heart, or they burn it with chemicals. They can do it with freezing, they can burn it, or they can do it with chemicals. But usually they do it with a nerve ablation is done with put an electrode into your heart, fry your nerve, and then look, your heart's palpitation and arrhythmia, it's back to normal. But then fast forward 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. Oh, what's going on? You've got congestive heart failure. You've got some kind of valve problem, or you've got, oh, we need to do stents. That's what nerve ablation is. You electrically fry a nerve, usually in the heart. Then farther down the road, remember at the beginning how we said the perpetrators would never admit, like the genius in this is that the result, the far down the road result, will never be linked back to the initial cause. That is a wonderful example. Number 57. Where'd these come from? They didn't exist before the 60s. Once again, medicine. Doing great. Number 58. Yes. We have got to take out your tonsils, then your wisdom teeth, then your gallbladder, then your appendix. Then we're going to come after your ovaries, your uterus, and your thyroid. And if they get in the way, we're going to pull a lung and we're going to yank a kidney. I've had people missing 6 organs in here. It's nuts. It's nuts. Full hysterectomies. I've got full hysterectomies that have happened on women that walk in here before they hit the age of 30 nowadays. That right there, where are those organs going? Your pastor's not going to tell you this because half of the church is nurses. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Did I mention that? I might have mentioned that. I might mention it again right here. Number 59. Organ transplants, not to be confused with organ removals. Because why are so many organ transplants happening? Your heart, your kidney, your lung. The list gets longer every year. Now, I just found out they can replace a pancreas now. I didn't know that. Because the pancreas used to be a death sentence. That was Michael Landon. That was Steve Jobs. That was, what's his name? What's the other pancreas guy? Patrick Swayze died of pancreatic cancer. So now they can do pancreas transplants. So, but hey, I've got a better idea. How about if we figure out why everyone's organs are falling apart? I know why. I have whole classes on it. Go check out that one. What's in those supplements? Check out the Weston A. Price class. Check out the Pottinger's Cats class. We've got dozens of them. Number 60. Ready? Oh, you'll love this one. Pain management clinics. There's billboards all over this town for pain management. You drive through Appalachia and you will see billboards for pain management clinics. Your nieces, your nephews, your grandkids, your aunts and uncles. Some of them have a wonderful, wonderful pain management drug addiction based on have a wonderful drug addiction based on the treatment they got from a pain management center. Brand new. They're everywhere. They're ubiquitous. Majority, I forget the statistics, but a majority of heroin addicts initially started out with prescription painkillers. Just FYI. Ready for this one? You're going to love this. Number 61. Oh, we can't say medicine without saying pharmakia. That's one of my favorite words. So you've got your CVS's and your Walgreens. Remember we talked about like prime real estate? Well, look in downtown anywhere, and you've got CVS straight across the corner from Walgreens. They've got the prime real estate everywhere. They're better than McDonald's. Still no cures. After 150 years of drug-induced absolute debauchery, we still have 0 cures. There's never been a drug that fixes the disease, and there's no such thing as a drug without a side effect. FYI. Oh, geez. They're all named after demons. I could go on. Whole classes. Check out the pharmakia class. Number 62, physician-assisted suicide. Whatever happened to Jack Kevorkian? Remember? I grew up in Michigan in the 80s, 90s. Jack Kevorkian was the dude. He was the doctor that was so brave, he wanted to help kill people. And then people threw him in prison. It was horrible. Now we call it elective euthanasia. In Canada, they call it medical assistance in dying, MAID. So now they're killing people. Government-sponsored euthanasia. Number 63, Planned Parenthood. You can't have medicine. You can't have abortion. The number one killer of man. You can't have that without Planned Parenthood. So family planning, reproductive services. Kermit the Frog, Bill Gates mentioned reproductive services and family planning. Drum roll, please. Who came up with this one? Drum roll, please. Nazis. Satan through the Nazis. Yes. Number 64. This is kind of linked to the blood donation, but the plasma donation is a little different. because they'll give you more money for it. Human plasma, they sell it to the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies make drugs out of the plasma. They sell it to you. They mark the price way up. They feed you somebody else's blood, and they get a bunch of money. They laugh at you. That's commercialized cannibalism. Go check out New Age for Old Devils and Nothing But the Blood. Number 65, psychiatry. I won't talk a lot about these guys. They're my least favorite humans in the world. Right up there with, these guys. Adderall. You got 15% of every high schooler. 15? No, it's not. That's 50. 50%. 50%. Merck, Nazi Germany. They developed the precursor to Adderall to make German soldiers more aggressive. See where this one came from? And it was discontinued due to psychosis. They reformulated, made it stronger, and that is what you and I now call Adderall. About 50% of your high schoolers are on it. Mass child abuse. It's been normalized with stimulants from, drumroll please, Nazi Germany, right? Check out the chemical imbalance. You don't have a chemical imbalance class. Yeah, it's horrible. All the school shootings, all the famous people, how'd they die? Psych drugs. And a lot of people are on psychiatric medications that they don't even know these are psych medications. Like, insomnia, all the insomnia drugs are psychiatric medications. All the ED drugs are psychiatric medications. Number 66, radiation. We talked about imaging centers. This is kind of related, but the x-rays, the CAT scans, the MRIs, the PET scans, the ultrasounds, the TV, the radio, the EMF, the Wi-Fi, the backscatter radiation machines when you go to the airport, don't ever go through those, by the way. Don't ever go through those. So the radiation, we have medicine to thank. Thank you, medicine. Thank you. Oh, the lady, I'm losing her, Madame Clary, or who invented x-rays? You know how she died? Marie Antoinette. No, Marie Claire. Curie, yes, thank you. I mixed up 4 different people right there. Marie Curie invented x-rays. Do you know how she died? Radiation poisoning. Number 67. Thank you. You saved me there on that one, Heidi. Radioactive dyes and tracing agents. So you can't do the PET scans without them injecting radioactive isotopes attached to a sugar molecule so that it travels to the place, the tumor, where your body is, and the tumor eats up the sugar, and then it shows up on a screen. Here's where the cancer is. That's how they do it. So they put nuclear medicine. That's another word for nuclear medicine. Radioactive dyes and tracing agents. They're all toxic to your liver and your kidneys. Toxic. And they lead to so many other problems. So when somebody goes in for a contrast MRI, radioactive dyes and tracing agents, they inject you with a contrast agent, and that's an MRI or a CAT scan with contrast. Now you've got radioactive dye floating around in your body. Could that cause a problem a day, a week, a month later? Would it ever be traced back to the original problem? Nope. Number 68, this one. I love this one. Number 68. We've only been using this since the 60s, and we told women that it's because you might have an Rh positive baby, and if you're Rh negative, your body's going to attack the baby and kill it. It's a vaccine for pregnant women, folks, and we've been doing it since the 60s. Everybody's been getting this thing. Even the midwives and the doulas often will tell people, you got to get the RhoGAM shot. It's horrible. And within a generation, everybody's thinking that you have to do this. You know how they make this? Guess how they make this. Where do they get the antibody? The immunoglobulin. It's a sterilized solution made from human blood. So that's where the RhoGAM comes from. Could this have anything to do with all the trannies since the 60s? Transgenders since the 60s? I'll let you think on that. Number 69. We've got sacrifice. Who doesn't love a good sacrifice now and again? And we've got the human sacrifice and the animal sacrifice. The animal sacrifice is the actual term that they use in the medical research. So like if you're reading a paper and it says the animals were sacrificed in order to harvest the brain, they actually use the term sacrifice. And when humans are killed, we call it medicine. So where do the blood, organs, babies go? You figure that out. Number 70, ready? Everybody's doing this. Never heard of these until people had obstructive sleep apnea. Obstructive meaning that they had stuff weighing on their neck because they usually were a little overweight, right? And then they removed the obstructive word, and now it's just called sleep apnea. Like what people are, obstructive sleep apnea. So it leads to breathing through a dirty plastic tube for the rest of your life. You and I would call that CPAPs. Number 71, statins. Statins, the most popular drug category in all of history. It's horrible. And it's a lack of dietary fat that's going to lead to brain, nerve, hormone problems. You're killing your liver. I've taught whole classes on that. Watch the heart classes. Number 72, sterilization. We would call that depopulation. Many people would call that decreased sperm count, decreased sperm motility, vasectomies for men, or PCOS, endometriosis, miscarriages for women, hysterectomies for women, sterilization. We love it. We love it. What are you going to do if we don't cut out your uterus and your ovaries? You'll just die. You'll fall apart if we don't cut out your ovaries, your uterus and your ovaries, right? Sterilization. Number 73, we're almost done. We only go to 77. 73. Transgenderism. Where'd this come from? Mental illness. Came from boy DNA being injected into girls. It came from girl DNA being injected into boys. With every vaccine, with every injection, with every steroid injection, with every vaccine, with every anesthetic for decades, including the RhoGAM shot. This is how these shots, the drugs, and the food is how you know somebody, everybody knows somebody, a dude married 20, 30 years, has a wife, has 4 kids, one day wakes up, divorces his wife, gets a boyfriend, starts wearing a dress. How? This. How? Drugs, food, vaccines. That's how that happens. We all know people. Number 74, transhumanism. Just flip that. And it's humans. You got to be upgraded with it, and by interfacing with machines. Once again, I refer you back to Revelation chapter 13 particularly, but the entire book, it's quite nice. Number 75, ultrasound. Ultrasound. In the 30s, every pregnant woman was getting x-rays. They figured out that the x-rays gave the infants cancer, so they stopped. In the 50s, they gave everybody thalidomide. The babies had no arms, no legs, so they stopped. In the 90s, they gave everybody Cytotec to induce women who'd had previous C-sections. This ruptured the uterus, killed a bunch of babies, so they stopped. But now, every woman gets how many ultrasounds before birth? God knows. Who knows? How many ultrasounds do they get? Good question. But there's not a good history to obstetrics. All I'll say is just get out of the hospitals, get away from the emergency C-sections, get away from the ultrasounds, because that's another form of radiation in a new developing baby, and you want to get a picture of its lips and its mouth. And now they're doing like 3D topographic ultrasounds where you can see the kid's beard before it forms. I'm just kidding. Number 76, that was a joke. Supposed to laugh at that. Number 76. I love this one. This is my favorite. And this is the last one. Have you understood some of the things that medicine has given us? Isn't this great? I can't think. And I want you to think of anything that I left out. This is my favorite because polio, smallpox, and more smallpox. Because if God knows, if we didn't get rid of polio and smallpox, we'd all be dead, right? No, that's a lie. And so the genes and the germs, it's all the genes, it's all the germs, and God knows that vaccine has nothing to do with anybody being sick. They'll also know this, that they're changing the name. You'll hear it referred to as biologics in the future if you haven't already. Soon going to be called, they're just going to flip out the name with injectable peptides. They're just going to flip it. All the hypodermic needles, all the vaccines, go back, check out Shotpocalypse, check out Shotzilla, check out A Snake in the Vein. And here, I want you to see, when you ask AI to write a definition for you, to tell you something, here's what you get. Here's the only picture for the whole class. This is an AI-generated explanation of what causes autism. I want you to check this out. This is AI. I'll read it to you. Notice how many times it says the words genetic. And notice how many times it says chromosome. Scientists have found autism is caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Okay, well, so you're thinking, okay, genetic, Environmental factors, I wonder, so environmental factors could be stuff coming from the outside in, right? Rather than a single cause. Genetic factors, everybody count the number of times genetic. That's number 2. Combination of genetic and environmental. Genetic factors play a significant role with genetic variations contributing to the risk of autism. These can include rare genetic variants, common genetic variations, and interactions between genes and the environment. Environmental factors such as exposure to certain chemicals or maternal health conditions during pregnancy may also influence the development of autism. That's the only sentence in this whole thing that's right. Autism can also run in families. Genetics, suggesting a genetic predisposition. Having a sibling with autism increases a child's risk of being diagnosed with the condition. Additionally, factors such as older parental age, very low birth weight, certain genetic or chromosomal conditions like Down syndrome or Fragile X syndrome can increase the risk of autism. Here it is. It is important to note that vaccines do not cause autism, and neither does parenting style. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Out of everything we know, what causes autism? It's genetics. 100%. It is definitely not the shots. It's definitely not how you parent your kids. It's nothing that you do. It's all God. It's all genetics. So, with that being said, here's one last parting note, parting thought I'll leave with you. I used to drive back and forth across Florida a lot. In Florida, there's one thing on the highway: scalpel-less vasectomy billboard signs. That's it. That's the only thing they have on the highways. According to highway billboards, medicine has officially failed. They neglected to even teach people how to be healthy and instead mastered the ancient art of the scalpel-free vasectomy. So, once again, who do we have to thank for that? Drum roll, please. Nazis. So, medicine, thank you so much, medicine, for all that you've given us. Thank you for abortion. Thank you for all of the allergy clinics. Thank you for the steroids. Thank you for the antibiotics, artificial intelligence, artificial sweeteners. Thank you for the autistic schools, the bioweapons. Thank you for the birth control. Thank you for the blood chemistry panels, the blood donation, the blood transfusions, Bluetooth medical devices. Thank you for the cancer treatment centers. Thank you for the censorship, the chemotherapy, the children's hospitals for kids who are sick, climate change, commercialized cannibalism in the form of pills. Thank you for depopulation and dermatology clinics. Thank you for dialysis clinics and electroshock therapy. Thank you for emergency C-sections. We really enjoy that one. Thank you for epidemics, childhood, middle-aged, and old people. Thank you for eugenics. Thank you for fecal transplants. Everybody needs one of those. Thank you for the fertility treatment centers, fluoridated water, the gene editing, the genetic testing, the genital mutilation, the heart centers for excellence, usually. Thank you for the heroic life-saving surgery, the hospice care, the emergency, the imaging centers, the implantable medical records, the injectable peptides, the insurance premiums, the integrative health clinics, the intravenous hydrotherapy, the joint replacements, the ketamine clinics, the life insurance actuarial tables, the lobotomobiles, the malpractice insurance. Thank you for the maternity wards, the medical aesthetics, the medical experiments, the medical power of attorney, the mental hospitals, the methadone clinics, the nanotechnology, the nerve ablation therapy, the nursing homes, the organ removal, organ transplants, pain management clinics, pharmaceuticals, physician-assisted suicide, Planned Parenthood, plasma donation, psychiatry, radiation, radioactive dyes and tracing agents, ROGAM shots. Everybody needs a good ROGAM shot. Sacrifice of the animal and the human variety, the two-legged and the four-legged variety. Thank you for the sleep studies, the statins, the sterilization, the transgenderism, the transhumanism, the ultrasound, and the vaccination, and scalpel-free vasectomies. Last but not least, yes, thank you very much. I will see you in the Bitcoin Remnant meeting, Saturday 12 to 2, April 5th, May 3rd, June 7th. Next Wallworks will be Monday, April 28th, 6 to 7:30. Dr. Brett Spradlin signing off. We'll see you next time. All right. So, any questions?
Yeah, every time you say Nazi, Satan worship.
That's what it is. That's what they were doing.
He hates us.